Welcome to Horror with Sir Sturdy, episode 2. This one's going to be about The Hills Have Eyes, the original and the remake, and a lot of random horror talk. I have two guests with me, my boy Chris and my boy Rob. So I'm just going to jump right into it and get started. And I'll start off with you, Rob. What got you into horror, and what's your favorite horror movie?
Got me into horror probably sneaking into the TV room at Christmas and Thanksgiving when I was younger, when all the mainly not really adults but the older kids were watching movies like Pet Cemetery and stuff like that, and I'd always just kind of sneak in, and most would be cool with it till one of the adults came in, kicked me out, but I'd still get enough of a thrill to watch it, and see what it's all about. And my neighbors, their parents really let them watch, a ton of films like that I got to watch, even though it scared me half to death most of the times when I was real little. Still, I always, came back for more. And then when I could finally, start watching it myself and going to the movie store and rent movies myself. Some of you kids don't even know what renting movies is anymore.
Not at all.
It's just like buying cassettes and listening to CDs.
I miss it.
Those were the days. But anyways, yeah. And then I think one of the first films I rented, because they didn't have the original film, was the sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. And I instantly fell in love with that movie. The humor, the gore, the characters, everything about it. And when I finally able to go get my own copy, and I watched that movie repeatedly, and it's just become my absolute favorite, even though sequels aren't always the huge hit with horror movies, especially. I think that one really did it. I think it's the original Texas Chainsaw is the classic, and the sequel is the cult classic. So that would definitely be my number one favorite horror movie.
I can see that. It is funny. And Chris, I know you're not real big on horror, but is there any?
I watch. I watch. I'm into it. If I would have to pick one, though, I would have to say, definitely Candyman. Candyman is definitely
that's a good
one of my
right there.
favorite horror movies. There's just so many different aspects of it. Like just his ability to appear behind you, just a big black man.
With a hook.
It's like you're sitting there in the kitchen. You're scrambling your eggs. Everything is good, and you turn around, bang. You know what I'm saying? He's right, the big black jacket and shit. Like that's crazy. Like he was in the projects. You know what I'm saying? Like he got ties to the hood. You know what I'm saying? Like Candyman is definitely one of my favorite horror films.
That's dope. About the Candyman thing, what's cool about him and what's freaky about him is the voice. Like the look is one thing, but the voice, that deep
Tony
voice, just like,
Todd's has got the voice.
He does.
You can tell. I've never met him. I think you have.
No,
you never have. But I think if you ever walked him, he talked to his normal voice, I think he'd have a little bit to it. But I think he definitely perfected that voice.
Oh, yeah.
He could do it in a heartbeat now, but I think
it was like a loud whisper.
Yeah.
A loud monotone whisper.
You see him in other films, and he's got that voice to it. It's just not as deep as creepy, unless he's trying to do this Candyman character,
which was awesome. But no, we didn't get to meet him, but he was at the Scarecon of last year. I didn't go out of that one, but hopefully.
Wasn't he the first one they did this year that wasn't near us? I think he was one of the features. I don't know where it was. That's just
the one out in I want to say Connecticut. He might have been at that one, but then the one we went to this year, Turning Stone, he was at that one last year.
Oh, no kidding.
But I didn't go last year, unfortunately.
Yeah, too bad. I mean, I'm glad the people that were there we got to meet.
Yeah,
Bill Moseley, Caroline Williams, Felissa Rose.
What exactly is ScareCon? It's just like. That's basically like Comic-Con, but horror films.
Yeah, it's like
so like people dressed up as like Freddy Krueger and shit, walking through the streets.
We got pictures taking us with Jason.
Yeah, and with this, because he's been there before. But like with this, like the way these people dress up, it's amazing. Like you really think that some of these people were straight out the movies. They really, really do their best with this stuff.
They have a ScareCon? I thought it was just Comic-Con.
Nah.
They got ScareCon too. Oh my God! I just thought of a crazy idea.
It's
like
fun.
Something like that, like for Dragon Ball Z or like for anime. Do they have something like that?
Yeah,
that's like that. Like an anime convention kind of thing, where people will come dress as like Naruto and
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Seven-tailed
more
dragons and
that's
shit.
more based with that goes more mixed with the Comic Cons.
Oh yeah.
But they do have that.
When you get the
It's-
big
it's-
ones, you got
if you go to
people who do all sorts of things like
And
that.
now
Have like their own
ScareCon,
section.
and now you said like actual like actors from these films.
Yeah.
Via
Oh,
ScareCon?
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you've ever seen the Friday the 13th movies,
Yeah.
I've met. There's a few different people that play Jason. I've met a few of those guys. I've met Michael. I met one or two people who play Michael Myers.
Now let me ask you this: how did you know it was Jason?
How?
Yeah, like I always felt so bad for like the masked celebrity. Like we could walk right past Rey Mysterio Jr. and not
you
know
wouldn't
who he
even know.
was.
Right.
Well,
Or like Kane, the wrestler.
Right.
You know?
Kane Hodder, who played Jason through 7 up to Jason X. He's really come out, but he's really made himself known. The other ones were like one and dones. He played it multiple times.
Oh, so it
probably
wasn't
the
the
most.
same guy all these times?
No.
No.
It's
It was
been
like a golden eye situation.
up till 7, it was somebody different every time. And
Oh
then,
yeah.
And a fun fact is, in part 8, when Jason Takes Manhattan, when they finally get to Manhattan, one of the big bulky cook in the diner that tries to charge Jason, he picks up and throws him up against the wall. I know his first name's Ken. I'm not sure his last name, but he actually took Kane's spot in Jason versus Freddy.
So you're
So
saying
that
that
big guy-
Jason came to a diner to get some coffee and
He's chasing
No,
two,
hash
he's
browns
chasing
with-
two guys,
chasing
two
people.
kids.
he
through the
was
town.
chasing
He
people.
bursts through the
I
diner where
thought he
they
was
are.
making an order. Like, can I just have water with lemon, please? And
That movie was so crazy.
that
I'm
would've
surprised
been
they didn't
hilarious.
do
I'm looking
such
for
a thing.
somebody named Kelly.
that would have been
already-
hilarious.
Already it's such a comical, feel.
I was never really a big fan of Jason. You know what I'm saying?
See that?
Like, I don't know. Like, not even the film. I love the film. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
But Jason as an individual, because he was a cock blocker.
Hey, man.
You know, it was
But-
always some random guy
it's-
about to get some pussy.
Oh yeah,
And then
it's,
Jason would
that's
just
that's
pop
the
up, he wanna
theme.
stab through
That's the
beds and
theme
shit.
that I always went with.
He has a reason. I mean, put it this way: the teens, when he was a kid, he looked all crazy, right? And the teens that were supposed to be watching him, they let him drown. They're over there having sex, getting high, and getting drunk. So he's like, "All right, I'm gonna show you guys."
Yeah, so it's like
You guys
it's
wanna party?
Rule number 1: when you go to Camp Crystal Lake,
And to
don't
top
be
it
caught
off,
with your pants down.
they killed his mother. So that's you know what I mean. If you've seen the original film of Jason, his mother's the killer in the first movie. And at the end of the movie, they cut her head off, and the story goes that he was like in the woods or whatever, and he's seen all that happen.
Oh,
So
yeah.
then from then on, you go to Camp Crystal Lake, you're not gonna make it back. More
Now,
than
is
likely.
Camp Crystal Lake real? Like, I would love to go. Is there a real camp?
Actually,
We have to find that out. There's a real.
no,
Camp
actually, the
Crystal
funny
Lake.
thing, I'm glad you asked that question because it's in Jersey. That's one, and two, they do. I'm not sure how often they do, but they do like a tour of the camp every once in a while, which I would love to freaking go to.
That'd
That
be
would be
rad.
so
We would
fun.
have to do that shit.
That'd be cool.
And like,
Set that up.
I never even thought of it. Like as a kid and stuff. Like you were talking about Jason Takes Manhattan. Like he literally goes to Manhattan, and it's like right across the water.
Yeah.
You're from the city, so you know.
Yeah.
But it's like right across. And I mean, obviously as a kid, you don't think about that. I didn't live out there. I didn't know that. And even as I got older, I never thought about it until I seen the whole. They have that real Camp Crystal Lake where you can go check it out and visit it and all that. And I was like, that's pretty freaking awesome.
I watched a fun fact about that film. I watched like a countdown, and it's always somebody's opinion about a YouTube video of the countdown of like the, all the Friday the 13th movies ranked, and of course 8 didn't place, was definitely pretty low back, in like the, in like the top 12, more closer like the 9 or 10, but they said it would have been ranked much better if the original story that they were intending to do actually got made. There was actually supposed to be the whole film's supposed to be based in Manhattan, and Jason was supposed to meet his, impending doom by falling off the Statue of Liberty. But when they only got dished a $5 million budget, that's why they had to do the story they did instead.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's why that's why the gore was toned down. I mean, part 7, if you watch if you get the box set, if you watch like the behind the scenes, part 7 was a gory freaking film. I mean, it even put like Freddy versus Jason and Jason Goes to Hell to shame. Like the original gore they put in, but they cut it all out for fear of getting X ratings, which almost every film faced, especially part 5 when again Jason wasn't even the killer. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
But for God's sake, that movie's 40 years old. You haven't seen it by now. It's your own damn fault.
But you know what it is about part 5? It actually wasn't a bad movie though.
It wasn't. It's just that's another thing they commented. Like it was almost a fan favorite, except for just that one disappointing letdown. But as far as the kills went, this the Tommy Jarvis, being in the facility, the mental house, and and then kind of the way they ended it was another thing that people kind of loved or hated. Is Tommy Jarvis now gonna be the killer that we never get to see?
Which would have been cool. It would have been a cool twist to it. But the one thing about that movie that I didn't get, because they were in that home, right? That institution or whatever. Now, remember when I don't remember the guy's name, but remember when the guy got killed, the slower guy, whatever you want to call him? A little mentally slow. I don't want to,
Is this the guy from the beginning? The one that...
He gets killed. He was going to give the one guy a candy bar that was chopped in the wood.
Vic is the killer
Vic.
at that scene, and... Joey was the Porky kid,
but he got killed. And then remember the guy who was driving the ambulance or whatever.
Yeah, the
paramedic. EMT. He was his father.
Right.
How did he know that was his child? Like it was weird. I remember he opened up his wallet and they looked at a picture.
There's a picture of him in there, and they said even at the end of the movie, or they say at the beginning of the movie, no, mother's dead, no father. He was he's been to 1,000 foster homes. So it's like, what did did his father? The only thing you can guess is his father gave him up as a child, and just kind of
chased him down.
From a distance, from a distance, kept an eye on him without revealing who he was, and somehow snuck a photo of him when he was older and looked like he did now.
Yeah,
and that's why.
That's like the only part that kind of
you make up your own story with it, and depending on how deep you think into it, you might think, okay, that's okay, or you think, okay, that really sucks.
I will say this, too, about that movie. I think, besides Jason, my favorite character from every single Jason movie was in Part 5, and it was Reckless Reggie.
Oh, yeah.
He was hilarious.
Yep.
And that kid was just... And the part that always makes me think, and this was so black of him to do this, when he seen... Well, it wasn't Jason, but everybody thought it was Jason. When he seen Jason, he was with the one lady... And he screamed, right?
Yeah.
And he just turned.
The high-pitched scream.
That wasn't the part, though. The black part when he screamed, and he just took off. Like, he didn't think about it. He just ran. It was like he was gliding.
But, they open up the door, body falls out, he ain't phased. Imposter Jason pops up. That's what gets him to scream and take off. And I would have bolted the second I saw that body fall out. But I guess if you've already seen the carnage, he already did.
Exactly.
With the body, the room of bodies. I guess seeing another one didn't really phase him.
But we can kind of, we don't have to have a lot of Hills Have Eyes. Like I said, we could talk about what you remember and stuff. Dive into
it's like
that
we can. I said it's not like I don't think it's it's a good. I think we've me and you both appreciate the films, but I don't think it's like our absolute favorite. If you want to talk Friday the 13th, you want to talk Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We'll go on forever with that.
Candyman or whatever.
Yep.
But I'll say from The Hills Have Eyes, I'm not sure what year it was. I believe the remake came out in 2006.
I think so.
I want to say, but if I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn I seen that movie in the drive-ins. First time I seen it, I don't know why I hated it. Like, I absolutely hated it, and I didn't see it for like another 10, 20 years. I just recently watched it last year with my wife. We watched that one. We watched the original, and I think we watched the sequels.
Yep.
Sequels were terrible, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The
and
sequels to both films were
Flex
absolutely...
Washington. He's not a bad actor, but he had no business being in that movie.
I hated him in that movie. Sergeant Flex. He was the worst.
He had no business being in that movie. Now, I know it's from one of the remakes. I don't know if it's from the first one or if it's from the second one. But one of my favorite kills in that movie is, I don't even know what you call these people that live in this. Because it wasn't like a military base, they were doing like testing.
Yeah. Right? It was like radiation. They were doing bombing and
That was in
villages
the
close,
remake.
radiation.
That was in the remake.
That was in
okay.
the remake.
Mutated
The
them.
original is much. The story's different. And
Yeah,
we'll get into that shortly.
But with the remake, there was one kill where the guy, one of the people that live there. I don't know what
Mutants.
We're gonna call we're gonna call them hill people.
Yeah, hill
one of the hill people.
Yeah, mutants, hill people, whatever.
They live there, and they were up in the mountains or whatever. And one of the kills, like I don't know if the guy fell off the cliff or like trying to, reach back to climb up. But anyway, the dude cut his arm off.
Yeah, he's climbing down, and the guy comes. He's like right down a hole, and he's like,
He grabs him or
he grabs him and
holds him out,
cuts off
slices his arms off. But the funniest part, is after when he's falling like this, like falling off the thing. For people who are listening to the podcast, and yes, I was really like acting like I was falling. You can't see me, but when he grabbed the dude's arm that he caught, it was just waving. I was rolling. Oh, that's some disrespectful shit.
Yeah,
Was that from the?
It's
Was that
insult
from
to
part?
injury. It's part 2 of the remake.
Okay, yeah. You know
yeah.
what it was with part 2 is, I think they tried too hard to make it kind of like, instead of making it like the first one, how the first one was like a serious movie, it was like kind of dark. They tried to make it a little bit lighter. And they tried to make a little comedy with it. Not saying you can't have comedy in horror, but it just didn't. Maybe it was the wrong cast. Maybe it was a bad script, but it didn't work with that one.
No, and it's another thing. They tried to take elements from the original film and push it into 2 films when they remade it.
Okay.
Because that's a huge difference from the original to the remake. Is the original had the whole family, as my father would say, in the original film. You got your mother, you got your father, you got all the the offspring, and you didn't have that in the remake, the first remake. You had just a bunch of bunch of hill people, a bunch of mutated people, and then when you go to the sequel to the original film, you find out how they're breeding them, and it's not one woman. It's that's one of the things. When they kidnap families, kill everybody but the women, and get them to punch out a few kids, and then when they're done with them, kill them and go on to the next one. And then you had I said they barely spoke. They're so mutated in the remakes, they barely spoke. They spoke perfect English in the original, but the remake they could barely speak. It was just grunting pretty much, but you can hear one of them who doesn't really talk that much in the sequel. Call one of them father, before he gets freaking backhanded, goes 2 feet across the air for running out so he can get to his business of making another mutated baby.
That is true. With the now that you mention it, I vaguely remember. I watched the original earlier this week, but they were pretty intelligent in the original one.
Right.
Remember they had the walkie-talkies and all that.
The walkie-talkies, they can talk. They all that one. I can't think of his name. It's killing me. I can't remember the actor's name, but he naturally looks a little odd, and he's played
the bald one, right?
The bald guy, and he totally respects it. He's played in multiple films that
Yeah.
That
he's the freak.
Yeah, that betrays that. So and he's been said he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, too. But he's he already kind of looked a little different, but you can tell there was some makeup applied to the others. But like I said, all of them. Like when I picked up again back to things people here aren't going to understand, VHSs at the video store. When I picked it up, and looked at, turned it around and looking at it. After I'd already seen the remake, I'm looking at the original film, and it's a still of the scene from when they invade the camper, and it's one of the brothers on holding down one of his victims, trying to keep her quiet. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, huh. That must be the family, and that must be the family is being abducted because there's and he's probably trying to protect his his wife or his sister or whatever. They didn't look like they were mutants at all. So I was totally thrown off by that. That's like the bad guy trying to hold keep her quiet while he's while everybody else is out doing their thing and nobody's warning everybody outside. These bastards are in our camper.
Those movies. Again, looking back at them later on, I was like, they weren't bad at all. I don't remember watching. I know I watched it. I just don't remember the sequels really from the originals. But the sequel from the remake, whoever made that should be slapped like 6 times
Oh yeah.
because that was just like I love horror, I love remakes, I love sequels, but I hate when people try to do too much. Wait, I feel like I said they did too much. I tried to make it too funny.
Yeah, helicopters coming in,
Yeah,
dry jokes,
I can appreciate.
dry humor.
I think that's what killed it too was the dry jokes, the dry humor. Like I didn't mind the helicopters coming in to an extent because it was like a like a old military base or whatever where they were doing testing and stuff. But I just feel I don't know.
But I feel as if like once you incorporate comedy into a horror movie, it's no longer a horror movie. It's more so a comedy.
It becomes a dark comedy.
You can't really combine the two elements. It throws it off. Like I feel like the first remake, I watched it like there was like a sense of fear. Like even in that one, like they were a little like witty and obnoxious. Like they had their little joking moments, but it was more so like fear based. Like the second one, like what?
It was too much.
Flex Washington.
That's what it is too. I feel now this could be just me, but with horror movies, I'd rather have actor like I'm not saying we're no names, but say if we were actors, we would be like no name actors in a horror movie than like big name actors because 9 times out of 10 you know that big name actor is gonna survive, and it's gonna be something they're gonna be comfortable with versus like say again like no name actors like Kevin Bacon. He was in the first Jason if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he was.
He was a no name then.
Friday the 13th. That was pre Jason as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody had an idea who Kevin
and he
Bacon
got killed
was
in the bed. But I'm saying though, like
one of the best kills you've ever seen in the series too.
What I'm getting at though is like like when you see like again Halloween H2O, LL Cool J was in that. Yep. He didn't get killed.
Nope. Busta Rhymes in Halloween Resurrection.
He stay alive?
Oh my gosh! Unfortunately, yes.
That was the worst Halloween movie ever. By the way,
I mean, some people.
No, but Rod Digger died in 13 Ghosts, right?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure she died.
13 Ghosts.
13 Ghosts. It was like a glass house and like
I remember
each room was
because
like
Matthew Lillard was in that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah?
He played Scooby. He was in the Scream movies.
Oh yeah.
Did he survive?
No.
Did anybody survive?
I think Tony Shalhoub, that's how you say it, and the kids did.
That wasn't a bad movie, by the way.
It was pretty good. It was pretty creative spin.
Yeah,
I know the movie's probably like over 10 years old now, but even so, horror movies were really getting dull and getting remade too much and coming out with poor poor movies at that point. So when you see a good film come out, then like you do today, you really take it in and that was really good. That was pretty original.
I know I mentioned this in the last podcast I did with Henry, first episode, but because I want to get your guys' take on this. Me personally, when it comes to horror movies, I really love the special effects. CGI is good to an extent, but I feel like they overdo it with CGI. Like back in the day, they didn't have all this technology, so they had to think outside the box. Like again with the Kevin Bacon kill,
right?
When he was stabbed through the bed, and you figure out it was like a bag of fake blood or whatever.
Yeah, and his head, he's under the bed.
Yeah,
but his head is just sticking out from it, and is perfectly sitting on this prosthetic neck. And rest of I think his neck was his, but like his from the chest down was all prosthetic. And
yeah. Which that's cool. That's freaking amazing, especially that was what 80s.
Yeah, it was 1980. That film came out, so it was made in the 70s.
So then you go from that to you get the CGI with they overdo it with the blood and just
right.
Not that
some of the effects.
Yeah, I don't mind it to an extent, but it doesn't work for every single movie, and I feel like especially for like a really good slasher. It might work more for like a paranormal type of movie, but for like a really good slasher, I feel like the CGI it almost makes it look fake or not that the movies are real, obviously, but it makes it look like too cartoony.
It turns into an Xbox One scene.
There you go. There you go. It's like a little video game or something.
Like the opening to every video game. You have like a little brief, 7 minutes of cinematography.
And that's what it happens.
That's the problem. The movie we were talking about, the movies, I should say, The Hills Have Eyes, is the scene that they really tried to, go, real deep with in both films, the original. if there's no real good effects, so you had to work with what you had, and too much CGI in the remake was when they burned the father alive. It's like
That was good.
it was. I mean, you could the original. I mean, they didn't show a ton of it. I mean, like one good spray with the extinguisher, and they get him all the way out. And the remake, not so much, but you can tell the CGI was way in there. You can okay, you can tell, where the actor is, and where the fake flames are. Two totally different things.
But honestly, though, another thing we gotta take into consideration is that we're almost desensitized to certain things.
With the horror stuff.
So that's the reason why now, like, I watch a lot of original films and I wonder, like, how can they really be afraid of these types of things? But that's because that was like the most they were exposed to. Like, yo, one of the trashiest horror films I've ever seen. Have you ever heard of The Car?
The Car.
The Car. It's just a car with nobody in it, and it just hits people. And it just appears. The car. Oh my God, you have to watch it. But like, this was like a hit, like back in the day when it came out. Like, it was black and white. But I feel like now we're so, because we've seen it all. Because I remember watching Freddy Krueger. Like, I would watch it and I would be traumatized.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to go to sleep. Or if I do sleep, the blanket had to be over my head. Because something about that blanket kept any monsters or ghouls or goblins or sharp knives or anything. Nothing could get through that blanket.
That's funny.
When it was over my head.
That is hilarious you say that. Because that's like the definition of a security blanket. I don't know what it was. Because we've all been there. You get scared.
Oh, my. When you throw that blanket over your head, nothing gets to you.
I'm going to just throw this out there. We're all in our 30s, early. Happy birthday. You just turned 30 recently.
Yes. 4 days into it. We've
all been spanked before.
Oh, yeah.
And for some strange reason, we think we can go upstairs, run into bed, hide under that blanket. Like
She's not going to see you, right? You're just going to disappear. It's an alternate universe.
The reason why this can tie into horror is because when you watch a horror movie, you see people running upstairs, hiding under the bed and stuff. And it's like, when you're scared, like, that's a horror movie. Your mom chased you with that damn belt or whatever she had.
Yep.
You run upstairs, you hide under the bed. Like, she can't find you.
That's like a classic movie scene. You're under the bed and you're seeing the slow creeping feet. Then they stop right at you.
Yep.
And they think it's over. And
they turn around.
Walking.
Yep.
Now
then
you think
slide
it's okay.
out.
Then they grab you. Like, that's like the classic horror film.
It's hilarious though, yo. But you said The Car?
Yeah, the car. Oh my God.
I think what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to get us this trio right here together. We're gonna have to all watch that movie, if you guys don't mind. Find it on YouTube or whatever.
Find it.
And we're gonna have to discuss it.
Because nowadays, like, even think of when did the remake for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre come out? That was like 2002, 2003?
2003.
Yeah, 2003.
First remake came
I remember the one scene, it's like the boyfriend, I think he was running. I mean, he was running through the sheets. And I remember, like, Leatherface, like, maneuvered through the sheets. And then he cut his leg off. But, like, the graphics on that, like, it looks so real. Like, you can see, like, the ligaments dangling in the flesh. And this was 2003. This was, like, almost 15 years ago.
Damn.
So I feel like 15 years later, like, we've seen all of this stuff 15. So it's like, how much realer can you get than the actual artery hanging out of the skin?
It's like when you do it like that, like, just a close-up of that scene, you can do it so much better. Like Hostel, when that came out, in the scene where one of the kids is in the room and guy, guy he sets him free, like he leans down out of the camera and the guy starts screaming. I have no idea what he's doing, and then he unchains it. It's okay, you're free to go. And then he goes to stand up. It's just a close up of both his Achilles heels are cut wide open when he stands, and it opens up, and you feel that. I don't care how many times you watch it, but you feel that. Awesome. But it's like, but then you watch behind the scenes, and it's just two prosthetic legs that, it's when that scene's filmed, and somebody just pushes on them, so they kind of open up. And then it cuts right back to the kid falling over. So it's when you do it up close, like Texas Chainsaw and Hostel, you can get better effects, and and you can do it real inexpensively too. Because I'm not sure how much Texas Chainsaw was budgeted, but Hostel got like almost no budget, and Tom Savini didn't work on the film, but they almost did like a Tom Savini type,
and he's
type skills, You don't have much to work with, but you make it work. You find ways to bring a real some real creepy and some real realistic looking scenes to film when you don't have much money to play with.
I got a question for both of you guys, and I'll even start it off. I did it on my last podcast episode. And I'm gonna ask you the question. I'm gonna let you guys think about it as I answer it. What movie scared you as a child, if any, that you can really remember?
Oh, I know this answer, but go ahead.
Mine was remember the Creep Show movies?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
It was
Yes.
I can't remember if it was part 1 or part 2, but it was The Hitchhiker, where the white lady, she's
And she hit him. He had the bloody face.
yes.
Oh my
And when
god.
she hit the dude. He's going to Dover,
I'm gonna have a nightmare tonight.
and she hits him. He goes in the windshield. She's driving around, whatever. He's like, "Thanks for the ride,
The
lady.
bloody face. I'll
Thanks
never
for the
forget
ride." As she's driving around, she crashes and stuff. And I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but you guys have seen it. That one, for some reason, I was watching it with my older brother Zach
That was the scariest one out of all of them.
and my cousin Jerome and Gisela, I believe. And when I seen that, they're all older than me. They got me by like 7 or 8 years. But I didn't want to show them I was scared. But when I had to go upstairs and take a pee, I was like, "Can someone come upstairs with me?" I was scared as hell to go up. Like, I was terrified. I had to have the lights on.
You pissing and missing the toilet because you looking back and shit.
It was
All types
that
of shit. You like,
scared the crap
damn,
out
man.
of me. And then, like, I've watched it more recently. I just watched it again last year. I know I watched it before then. I'm watching the movie. It was still cool, but I was just laughing. Like, what the hell was so scary about this? Like, why was I so scared of this? But as a kid, I was probably like, I was younger than 10. I had to be like 7 or 8, maybe even younger than that. But that scared the shit out of me, almost literally. That's how scary that movie
Oh,
was.
no doubt.
So what was yours?
I'd say it wasn't Creep Show, but regarding that thing, it was the original. The thing I saw that movie when I was like in my late 20s, and the box got me. That freaking like it's like I don't know, it's like a demonic chinchilla or something. I'm not sure what, but the teeth on that thing, because my only real phobia is like great white sharks, like when their mouths are wide open.
Oh,
So
wow.
seeing the big teeth,
teeth.
and just the creature itself, the way it moved too, the way they made him move was just creepy as hell. But I just want to put that out there. That's the story from Creepshow that scared me.
awesome.
But I was much older, of course. But the film that got me as a child was back to what I was talking about, and sneaking into the room, the room with the older kids, is they watched the original Pet Cemetery, and I came in, when the kid Gage had resurrected after his father buried him, and where he freaking kills Herman Munster. Can't think of the guy's name, who the actor was, but that's how I always call him, because that's just his most iconic role ever. Like where it's like he's like leans down to look under the bed, then the cat, the possessed cat, shows up and distracts him, so he's not paying attention when that freaking scalpel, little hand with holding the scalpel comes out and goes right for his Achilles heel. And then he freaking the guy he screams in agony. You know exactly what happened. They didn't show it, either the lack of effects or just the fact you can't do stuff like that back then. But and then the kid comes out and then like bites his neck, and then like where the father comes in, trying to find his wife and his son. Because he knows what he has to do. He knows it's unfortunate and inevitable, but he realizes now that anything or anybody you bury there, they're not coming back as who they were. So it's just inevitable to put them right back where they came from.
That was a good movie.
It
too.
was. I mean, but yeah, that movie scared me half to death. And like I said, it seemed like a long hallway at my aunt's old house to get to the bathroom. So I was doing the same thing, like. Really and there's no light either. It was like there's no light switch turn on. So I had to walk through a dark hallway. I'm just like booking it as fast as I can, just waiting. It's like standing at the the edge of the entrance, like, okay, I'm gonna go now. All right, still not ready. Okay, really gotta pee. Okay, it's go now or lose it right here.
Yep.
So
that.
I just bolt it in there, turn on the light immediately, close the door. Then I was like in my cousin's room, fishing through his toys. And like I heard something approaching the door, and
Scared the
I
shit
just
out of
grabbed
yourself.
the first thing I could find, like this freaking doll that almost looked like an oversized Chucky doll, except it wasn't. Except it wasn't red haired. I just grabbed, got by my back, just ready to swing, and it just, my aunt's dog. So hightail it out of there quick.
That's funny.
But yeah,
What about
that's definitely the film that got me.
what about you, Chris? I know you were saying Candyman, but like what?
Candyman was a good one, but that's probably not the one that had me the most frightened. Let me see. I would have to say, oh, I got it. 2 words for you. Tales from the Hood.
Oh,
And I know it's not more than 2. And I know it's more than 2 words. But yeah, yo, Tales from the Hood, like those stories, like each story just hits so hard. But the scariest one was the puppets.
the
The
little
puppets from,
yeah.
oh man, those were the scariest. Like, to be honest, like everything about that movie, like even that dude's the gap in his teeth. The
That-
whole time he was telling the stories, like his haircut was scary.
This
Like
guy.
everything about that film was scary. Like, I
Yeah.
definitely Tales from the Hood was it. They had the one short film with a little boy that was being abused. Remember, and he drew the picture of the monster. You know what I'm saying? That shit just, like all the ass whippings that we all used to get, like it just like brought us back flashbacks and shit. It startled me, when I was watching it. But yeah, like Tales from the Hood was definitely a scary one. He turned into the devil. Everybody praised Lucifer, at the end of the movie and shit. But yeah,
that was. I just watched that movie. I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and I was watching it with my boy. Actually, we went to Scaricon. We stayed out there, drinking, smoking a little bit, watched that movie. Yo,
Yep.
I've never. I mean, as a kid, it was probably different, but I've never laughed so hard in my life. I was laughing through the whole movie. Like, I don't even really remember I remember bits and pieces. I remember one part of the movie. I don't know if they were in the back of a cop car. I don't know how this comment came up, but there's 2 people in the back of a cop car, whatever. I don't know what the guy asked him, but right after he said that to him, he said, "What, you got a green dick?" And I was rolling. I was like, what? That had me rolling. And there was another part in the movie later on where those little dolls, I think it was those little dolls running around. There was some old white dude who was getting pissed off about him. He was like, "You little nigglets." I lost my damn. You remember that shit?
yeah,
Yo,
he was like
I
the politician's assistant.
I
Or
lost my
some
mind.
shit like that.
I think that story was based way back in the day, like almost 1800s, back when there was.
No. Actually,
Was it?
It was more so. It was a little more modern, but the original story of the house.
Okay,
like
yeah.
during the 1800s,
Okay,
the old lady.
I think the old lady
had
was
the puppets,
was,
so she had the children or something like that.
yeah.
It
It was almost like a political story without
Yeah,
without
uh-huh.
overdoing it. It was
Exactly.
still very well done. And those who had been victims for years finally got justice.
Donald Trump's brother David Trump. He was running for city council,
Okay, I got it.
Saratoga County, man.
I got another one for you guys.
What's that?
You already answered this, but I'll ask you both anyway. This one I got to think of, so you guys are going to have to take it on this one. What's the worst horror movie you guys ever seen? Like, one movie you put in. Let's say the worst horror movie you ever seen, and you actually finished it. Not one, because I watched one and I stopped it. But let's say one that you put in and you finished it.
Yeah,
That's a tough one for me.
that is really tough. And I mean, does it have to be an original film?
It could be.
Because you can always cheat, and say a sequel.
No, it doesn't have to be an original. This is any horror
can-
film ever.
Ow. I gotta say the one that really comes to mind. It's probably not the worst film ever, but I gotta say, the last Saw movie before the one that just. I don't know when the hell that's even coming out. Like, I know it already hit theaters. I just know when it's coming to video.
Oh, okay.
But Saw 7, Saw 3D, that it had just like one of the worst endings I've ever seen in a film, and not like the last scene, because the last scene was pretty. Oh, I didn't see that coming. But for those who don't know what I'm talking about or need a refresher on the film, it had the one guy who is a what's like a self not a self help but like a motivational speaker because he's survived saw his traps and he's got the scars on his chest to prove it and he even had the story about what his final test was. Turns out he's a big fat liar who made millions on writing a book and becoming a overnight success and holds does conventions and like self-help groups of people who've also survived and and then he's caught and he's put through real tests. And of course, most people that are victims in it that he's trying to save are people that knew that worked for him, and most of them knew that he was full of it. But but his wife is at the end of the maze, and you don't know what's where what's she's chained down every time another mission fails for him, like the chain keeps lowering, almost bringing her down to the ground. So you don't know what's going to happen, but he's almost able to complete, the task to save her. And last second he fails and time runs out. And she has no clue. If she was in on it, I can understand a little better, but she was completely clueless. That's why she's so, what the hell is going on here? Why is this happening to us? You already passed your test. Why is this happening again? But then he confesses, no, I'm a big fat liar. And then not only is she dies, but she's freaking trapped in that thing and slowly burns alive. It's like, really? That was just really bad to me. It's like, come on. It's, it's like I say, I know innocent people die in horror movies all the time, but that was just a real bad way to go, especially for somebody who, just little turn of the script, could have easily. She could have known he was a liar and helped spread his lies. So not that that's you deserve to be burned alive for that, but in the world of horror, in the world of Saw, yeah, you kind of do. But and in the world of fake movies, of course. But yeah, that just really didn't sit well with me, and I've always kind of been disappointed. And that's kind of how they ended. What they did with the last movie. Because they were already starting to decline a little bit. I thought 6 resurrected the story a little bit, but I thought they could have gone out with a bang, and you brought in a real good actor and Sean Patrick Flannery to be the main lead in the film, and it just seemed they just kind of sunk that ship.
Yeah.
So.
For me, let me see the worst. Oh my God. Oh, shit, it came to me. I have one word for you.
Oh, shit.
Leprechaun in the Hood.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God.
Back in the Hood or Back to the Hood? Which one? Because there was 2
was
Hood
it Back to
films.
the... Oh, my God.
There was
Back to
two.
the Hood?
There was 2.
He didn't have enough?
They had
he fell in love with a hooker,
that
man.
movie was...
Oh, my God. He was smoking weed.
Oh, my gosh.
That was hilarious.
He was gang banging. The shit was like Grand Theft Auto meets fucking Leprechaun in the Hood meets a corny ass BT comedy low budget movie.
Yes.
It was
that.
like, oh
yo,
my
you
God.
saying that? Because I just watched this movie earlier this year. That movie, and you saying that reminds me of those cheesy BET movies.
Yes. Oh my God.
And who was the actors? There was the heavyset actor. He was light skinned. Had I think he had a gap.
Yeah. I forgot his name though.
Oh my God.
Man, there's so many.
I wish I could remember the quotes.
To
from that
me
movie.
personally, you can't bring a horror film to the Hood.
You can't.
The Hood, they're used to killing and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not scared of killing and getting their shit chopped off. They scared of getting their lights cut off. That's what they scared of. You know what I'm saying? They're scared of shit like that. They're afraid of bill collectors. They're not afraid of Jason. You see what I'm saying? That's why you see nobody in the Hood was afraid of Candyman. They knew that motherfucker. Like, but Uncle Candyman, he always around. They say his name 5 times, he pop up. You can't do that. So I feel once because Leprechaun was actually a scary movie.
Yeah, it was.
Until he got to the Hood, and the Hood turned him out. They had him smoking sour. You see, like Kush.
How do you kill somebody with a bong? Watch Leprechaun Back to the Hood and find out.
Like I said, sometimes when you mesh too much comedy in a horror film, it defeats the purpose. You know, because there's not enough comedy to be a comedy, but the comedy is overpowering the horror. But yeah, that was definitely a film. His makeup was horrible. That big pimple on his nose was horrible. Everything about it, like the whole setup of the film.
Even Ice-T couldn't save it.
That was definitely.
I forgot he was in that movie.
Yep.
I forgot Ice-T was in that movie.
I saw Bat in the Hood twice. Once again, about a year or so ago. I haven't seen Back to the Hood a second time, but I remember when I watched In the Hood, I almost thought Ice-T was, was only in the opening act, but no, his partner that when they go in, they find the leprechaun in stone and remove the necklace from him and brings it back to life. His partner doesn't get it, and again, how the hell do you kill somebody with a comb? Again, watch Leprechaun in the Hood, but yeah, Ice-T gets out, and then he takes the gold necklace, becomes like a overnight success, and then it's like these 3 kids come and I think they steal it from him. Then he's hot on their trail, so they got the Leprechaun after them because now they got his medallion, and Ice-T's hot on their trail because they stole it from him.
That was a great pick. That was a terrible movie.
Yeah, he actually dug into a really bad film. I just found a film that I think some people like it, some people hate it, but I was just disappointed in itself, like just especially how it ended. Like when you talk about bad, poor quality films, I mean, man, I've seen so many. It's just hard to pinpoint one. I try to think of what it is. Which one really stands out.
Ice-T been a halfway crooked cop for the last 35 years. He's been acting. He's been a halfway crooked cop. He's been the same role. Like, there's just certain actors that are the same person in every movie.
Yep.
Terry Crews is the same person in every movie. Denzel Washington. It doesn't matter if he's trying to save his son, if he's a drug dealer, if he's a motherfucking fugitive on a run, he is the same exact person in every single film.
And I hope they keep those actors out of horror movies, please.
Yes,
right.
please.
Straight on horror. I mean, suspense films have some scare tactics to it that some people would justify. Would try to argue a case as a horror film. That's one thing, but I mean, a straight on horror film.
Don't.
Oh, but you know what?
I'm still pushing for Kevin Bacon as Freddy Krueger if they make another Friday or another Nightmare.
I think that could work. I really think that could work.
I mean, you're not going to get Robert Englund to do it again, and like I said, that's what's so unique about Freddy Krueger. Is why when they tried changing him up, it failed miserably. Is because he's one of the few actors or one of the few characters that has a series and has a voice. Michael, Jason, Leatherface. They're all mute.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
They don't say a word. They hide behind a mask. So
the scariest person in a horror film ever had one of the scariest voices ever, and we all know who that is. The old lady from Poltergeist. The old lady from Poltergeist had the scariest. She was the scariest character in that whole film. The scariest character, but yeah, man, that's what it's about, a voice. That voice will really set you off.
Okay. I got 2 movies for you guys on this horrible horror thing.
What's that?
I'm going to start off with the Easter Bunny Bloodbath. Now, I don't know if it's on YouTube. I know I seen it on the Fire Stick. I'm just going by a brief kind of what I remember from it. This, obviously, it's based around Easter, and this kid opens the front door or whatever, or his sister opens the door, and there's somebody in Easter Bunny costume just chops his sister's head off in the beginning of the movie. That's how the movie starts. You're thinking, okay, cool. This movie's gonna start, starting out kind of gory, starting out kind of cool. What's going on? So later on in the movie, I guess he's always having if I remember correctly, I think he's always having like these visions or these quote unquote dreams, like flashbacks of that. And so him and his friends, they go to a house in the woods or whatever, like a house on a lake, one of those type of deals. And he's still seeing this Easter Bunny killing people, just like randomly killing people that are around in this area. Make a long story short, come to find out, well, before I say that, through this whole movie, there's some shitty music playing here and there, especially when the bunny's around, which it ruined it for me, that right there. And then later on in the movie, you find out that he's the Easter Bunny killing everybody. How? I have no idea. But at the end of the movie, somebody killed. Like I said, I'm not getting into this too deep because I don't remember it too well. It was that bad. But at the end of the movie, somebody kills him. I don't know if they shoot him or stab him, but he's bleeding or whatever. And they take the mask off his head, and it's him. And it was one of those low budget horror movies, which I don't mind those because sometimes they can be really good, sometimes they can be really bad. This one was like really bad. I don't recommend it, but I think you should see it. I know that's like I'm contradicting myself there, but it's like one of those ones where it's just like you watch it, you're like, I could have did better making this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, what was this budget?
Yeah, it's like even if you don't have a budget, you know, it's like I just don't. Sometimes I just question, like, you know, what inspires people, you know, to make these films, like, you know, people that produce them, people that direct them, people that star in them. You know, like what, you know. I mean, you don't have like, you know, George Clooney's of the world.
It was
like, if you want to, I've never seen the film, but like he was in some old cheesy B movie horror flick years ago, and now he's like one of the most recognized actors in the world.
All right. So I think this movie was made in the 2000s, so I understand it more if it's like I'll say a 90s, even an early 80s from 90s and back. But once you get into this era, more early 2000s and later, I don't remember what it was made in. That's not. I want to block that movie out, but it was bad. And then my second movie was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D.
Oh, word.
And
oh my gosh.
I feel like that I went and seen it in theaters, and I wish I didn't.
Same here. I did too, and I was so disappointed.
And I feel like that movie got so much hype. One, because it was in 3D, and two, because Trey Songz was in it. And what pissed me off about the movie, I don't care that he died. That's cool. He died in a car accident. And he crashed in the van.
There are multiple people who just died, you know, just random acts of, you know, complete, you know,
dumb shit, like
dumb stuff that has no part in a horror movie, especially.
That could have happened in a romantic comedy. That could have happened in a love story. But it had to, like, I'm like, if you're gonna die in a horror movie with a icon like Leatherface, Jason, etc., you should be dying by getting killed by one of them.
Right.
Not
Even
by,
if it's not by the the legendary, you know, weapon of choice, the chainsaw, which happens a ton. I mean, like, even the original, only one person died by the chainsaw.
But like, what they were driving in the van, didn't he like slice one of the tires or something? They're going around a turn and crashed, and boom, he's dead.
They lost control and he dies. I think the girl crawls out. I can't remember what happens to her, but something
that killed it for me. The way he died, because I wanted to see him get cut up with a saw. Nothing against him, but I'm like, if you're gonna be in this kind of movie, you need to go out like, you know.
Right, if you're a recognizable person, you know, for acting or for other reasons, but you're suddenly in a movie
and you die in the movie,
you want to see a pretty legendary, you know,
not crashing. And then another one was towards the end. Remember when the girl found out that Leatherface was her cousin?
Yep.
She throws him the saw and says, like, "Get him, cuz."
Do your thing, cuz. Oh my gosh!
Why?
The second that came out, I'm like, I did not just hear that. Please, and just the way she says it, and the way she just kind of, like I said, she throws the saw, and I'm kind of, you know, looking all tough now. It's like you were, you know, tied up by some, you know, some town folks, you know, who have another, you know, we find out or have a part, you know, from the original, like from earlier in the film, from the earlier story they're telling. And, you know, and you're like seconds away from, you know, becoming, you know, the next victim of this, you know, Leatherface, until he somehow recognizes you and then sets you free. It's like, that's another thing. It's like, you know, the original part 2, and it's more like a dark comedy. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's funny as hell. And, you know, he's like has the hots for a girl, you know, for the DJ, which his brothers pick on him for. And then in part 3, I didn't know this. You know, they don't make it super clear, but it's kind of been explained to like people who review it and like look deeper into the movies or the production or whatever. That little psycho girl in the family is actually his daughter.
Wow.
You know,
Leatherface?
Leatherface. He's, you know, some victim they had. Apparently, you know, he, you know, raped her, and that kid was a product of it, and it's all a story, you know, people have kind of, you know, made up or just, you know, put together themselves. But but yeah, I mean, it's like, like she's sitting on his lap and, she gives him a little kiss and everything. But, the girl's, an absolute whack job and she's like 7 years old. So, of course, she's, acts like that around her psychotic family. I'd never tied it in just watching that she was his daughter.
That makes sense.
So, okay, so he likes a girl in part 2. He's got a daughter in part 3. So these, and it works, these things work. But him being like, but just how like, not emotional, but like,
That's fine.
caring and like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, let me untie you, my bad. And like this, he interacts with, a perfectly normal looking person. Like everybody he interacts with in his family, you can tell they're psychotic. They look a little off. They act crazy. They act crazy. They kill people. It's like whose family in these movies. It just didn't work at all.
Pause. So Chris just had to go. He had to take care of some stuff. It's just me and Rob left. We're gonna keep going with this random horror chat. And Chris actually came up with a great idea. I wish he was here to say it before he left, but he was saying like when we get together, if us three get together, if it's just me and one of these two, or me and Henry or whatever, is besides watching the movie, if we're gonna review a movie, besides watching that movie at home during the week, up to the podcast, we should all get together, hang out the day of the podcast, a couple hours before we actually record, watch the movie, and review it right after. That way it's fresh in our minds. You could still use the notes that you took during the week if you took notes, and then use the notes from that and just go, which I think is an excellent idea. And the movie that I have in mind right now, I just talked about it to Rob before I hit record again, was Never Hike Alone. I'm going to discuss it with Chris, which I think he'll be cool with it. It's on YouTube. Fan-made film, probably one of the best fan-made films I've ever seen. And, hey, we're going to go from there. So let's get back into this horror talk, Rob. I'm a man of my word. I forgot to give Chris his gift. But for those of you who participate on the podcast, you're guaranteed to get a random horror trinket. It could be, I gave Rob a nice pillow. I'll let him pick it out. But it's not always going to be that. It's going to be something random. I have to get more stock of stuff that I'm willing to give away.
Right. Honestly, it's hard to, get stuff, that's like, okay, I'm willing to part with this. Like,
yeah. But as far as my collection, I'm letting everybody know right now, that's a no. That's a definite no. But the pillow I gave him was a nice ass pillow. It's not an ugly pillow.
No, it's got all the classic characters. I've seen all the movies that are based on Freddy, Michael, Jason, Leatherface, Pinhead, Chucky, and I don't know what the character from Trick or Treat is, but I have seen the film.
His name is Sam.
Sam, that's it. Yep.
I was just about to ask you, did you see that movie?
I did see it.
And what did you think about that? To me, was you know what an anthology is before I say it, right?
Yeah.
An anthology. For those of you who don't know, and I've learned this recently within the year. I also learned what trope is, horror movie tropes. That's pretty much something that's always in movies, like a basic thing that's in movies. But anyways, back to the anthology thing. That's an anthology, and I know I've said this before on live videos and probably on the podcast, the first episode, it's when, I'm saying horror, it's one movie, but there's 3 little stories in the movie, like Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt, stuff like that. And the cool thing about it is the stories, they don't have to connect at all, or they can connect. And with Trick or Treat, they actually did connect,
right?
Which I thought was awesome. But you didn't really figure that part out towards the end. Towards the end,
you didn't go into the film realizing that, and and you're watching it, and you're not really getting that vibe until, like I said, towards the end of the film.
That, as a matter of fact, I don't even want to discuss. I want to talk random horror, but I don't want to discuss that film because that is also another really good film that we should.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while, so I'll have to sit down with that one again.
That would be a good one for us to
get
watch.
A refresher
together. And
some things I remember really well about it. Other things I'm not too familiar. Don't remember a heck of a lot about. But yeah, I do remember it was it was a good film.
That was yeah. And this is just a quick side note. My friend James just texted me. Well, actually, before we started this podcast, and on the page, I remember it was like a week or two ago. I put something with Christmas trees on there, like a little random post where the skeleton was decorated and there was Christmas trees sitting around. I said it would be funny if there was a Christmas tree horror movie, and there actually is on YouTube.
Oh,
It's about 15 minutes. My friend watched it. He said it was hilarious. So I got to check it out. And I would love to do a little pod. It's only 15 minutes, and I'll get to. And I was thinking of doing a podcast on that, but I want to see it. He said it was funny, and I happened to post on YouTube, on the page the other day, Horror Search 30 page, and I'm like, I got to do a movie or a little thing on this. But I'm thinking with those little, because you know how they have that, you know, the Cryptic TV, how they have like little 3-minute movies.
Yep.
It would be fun to watch a few of those. Like, say you watch one, you do a little notes on it, whatever, watch another one. And just do those as one podcast. You know, watch, say, like 10 of them or whatever, and do a little podcast on that, those little shorts. Because some of those, the cryptic ones, I haven't seen them. I've just seen, like, bits and pieces, not even, like, a minute, if any. But they actually look pretty good. They actually look like something that would make, like, one full, you know, hour and a half, 2-hour movie. They look like they can be really good movies with those little. Again, it's only a little 3-minute short, but still, like, I've seen 3-minute shorts and like, why the hell did I just watch that? Like that 3 minutes was a waste of time. And then I've seen a couple 3-minute shorts, not necessarily horror, just, you know, random stuff, and it's like, oh, it was pretty cool. It was pretty like the which was even shorter actually than the 3-minute shorts, the Vine videos. People got real creative with some of those Vine videos. Hilarious.
Yep.
Not that has anything to do with horror, but that's another thing I would like to do on this podcast is the cryptic stuff. I love the random horror chats because, as you can see with this one, we just go off on a tangent and just kind of discuss whatever comes to mind. And it just, you don't have to stick to one movie or one horror subject, so to speak, which I would love. We are going to do podcasts which just like, just a certain movie, a specific movie and stuff. And we're going to do the idea that, again, that Chris said about watching the movie, just chilling, watching the movie together and going from there. But I'm trying to think of this real quick. You know what? I'm going to go right to this. I'm going to go right to the ScareCon talk. I discussed this a little bit last time with Henry. We discussed it some. We've been to cons together before. And we also brought up Rob in our last con. He wasn't there to defend, in our last podcast. He wasn't there to defend himself. And we went to go meet Caroline Williams. Is that her name?
Yep.
And Rob was red as an apple. And being the great friend that I am, I had to point that out. And not quiet either. I was like, Henry, you know what's funny? When white people get like real, he was like excited. I don't know were you nervous a little bit?
Oh yeah, I was
nervous. It was like think of Santa Claus. Think of that red outfit he wears. That was Rob. That's how red he got. But I pointed that out. I was like, Henry, you know, white people get real red when they get real excited and nervous. And, you know, Rob called me a fucking asshole or called us both assholes, you know, as we deserved. It was funny. But I didn't get to really discuss that with him as far as recording it. Well, actually, I'm lying. I did. But as I told you guys on the last podcast also, on the way there and the way back, I was recording on my little recorder thing, and I didn't do it right. I didn't save it, so we lost all that. That was going to be again, this is going to be the last time I'm going to discuss this. That was going to be the original first episode. Now, let's get back into this. I'm going to talk to Rob about this. I'm going to ask him, ScareCon. Because we met at our old job. My old job, you're still there. I'm not going to even say the name of the job there.
Right.
But we would discuss horror. I told you about the con. And we actually went. I told you about the con last year, right?
Yeah,
because I think it had just passed, and we went this year. It was your first time going to a con. ScareCon, Turning Stone. What did you think?
I thought it was excellent. I mean, people that you had talked about that have been there before that you've met, and I'm like, that'd be cool. And Henry as well. When I started connecting with him, online, and talking about people I really hope would be there, and people I desperately want to meet. Like my top 3 people to meet all time were Bill Moseley from Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, Devil's Rejects are probably his, two most famous films. Caroline Williams, again, Texas Chainsaw Part 2. She was in, I think she almost was unrecognizable in Leprechaun 3.
She was in Leprechaun 3?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know it was her at first. Like, I'm like, God, that voice is so familiar, but I can't put, I just can't put that face to it because, I mean, she looked the way she did. Just her hair was, like, so different, like, she rocked a shorter haircut, in her later days, but back then she always had her hair pretty long, but she had a shorter, like, shoulder-length haircut then, and it was, like, she almost unrecognizable. But Ann Kane Hodder from Friday the 13th, so, what he's real famous for. But, and so as they start, sharing the post, it's months out, and they announce all these people come in, and, some cool names, but like, I said, these are the best names they're going to get. I hope everything at the convention's cool because it'd be nice to see them. Hi, how you doing? Shake your hand. I thought you were pretty cool in this film. But if there's nobody real significant there, it's like I'll still go, but I'm really hoping there's a lot of stuff going on at the con itself. So that's just the celebrities. But then they announced, I think Caroline was the first one they announced, and I'm like, okay, I'm absolutely there. And then, much to my surprise, they announced Bill Moseley being there, and I'm like, I don't care if my wife tells me she's pregnant again and she's going into labor that day. Somehow I'm going to get to the con and I'm going to get home, to be with my wife, pushing out our second child. But thankfully that hasn't happened.
Yes, luckily
that did not happen. Nothing came in the way that really made me question, okay, how committed am I going to the con and how do I have to be somewhere else? But, and we were talking on the way up, like everybody were looking forward to meet, and I said, the first person I absolutely had to meet is Bill Moseley. That's got to be my first thing. And I have no idea what to expect. I've never been to a convention ever, a Comic-Con or anything like that. So I know, like, New York City Comic-Cons are, like, humongous. They're, like, buildings, just, like, as far, you can't even see the whole room if you stand in the corner, and there's, like, 2 or 3 levels of that, I've heard at some of these places. So I have no idea what to expect, how hard it is to meet people, standing in lines. I didn't want to waste everybody's time, standing in line for 2 hours to meet somebody. But much to my surprise, it was good. It was decent size, but it wasn't overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And, the people, in the lines weren't that bad. Bill Moseley probably had the longest line that we stood in. And it moved pretty quickly, even though he was wicked nice. He'd, ask you your name and, who'd make out the autograph to, and, would, depending, like I said, they all have, things they bring, like pictures and movies. Of course, I brought my Texas Chainsaw Part 2 film, for him to sign. So the second he saw that, and I told him my favorite movie of all time, and he's rambles on a bunch of his famous quotes, which was like freaking amazing. I'm almost like geeking out so bad.
He cried.
I almost did. If you see my profile picture, you see my stupid look on my face posing with him because I'm just so in awe. I just can't believe this moment's happening right now. So I'm already I feel pretty good about, that, and I didn't totally blow it. Now you could walk right up to Caroline Williams because Bill Moseley, Sid Haig, from Devil's Rejects, Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard, both those guys from the Scream movies, they had their own tables, like they sat behind, and they were all like one next to like 2 or 3 tables made up, each person's section, and they're all lined up, together. So, if you walked up to them, there's usually a line, so you can like just walk up and like, hey, how you doing? My name's so-and-so, be on your way. But everybody else had like booths kind of the side. There's no table. You just walk right in, and Caroline Williams was one of them. And you just walk right into her booth, walk right up to her. And I said, we're just standing right there. There's somebody talking to her. I could have been rude and just butted in, but I was polite and waited for my turn. And that's the point where, I'm just putting on my hand and I'm just like shaking like a leaf. And, I was pointed out how, beat red in the face I was getting.
Yes,
and
I
I
pointed
totally
that
wanted to act out a scene, but I was just so nervous I could barely even get out the words to say hello.
Wait a minute. Back up just for 2 seconds. You wanted to act out a scene.
Yeah, I was gonna see if you'd get it on, because I don't think either would be too comfortable with me hanging off your shoulders, but you probably would have got in on me with it. It's like in the scene from Texas Chainsaw 2, where she's inside their, it's an old amusement park where she's trapped like underneath where like this maze of all these bodies that they've turned into like this little amusement, like amusement museum, if you will. And Leatherface is chasing her, and he traps her, and she's trying to plead her way, to get him to let her go. And then the two brothers come running down, and see that he's got somebody there, and and trying to figure out who she is. And Chop Top, who's played by Bill Moseley, recognizes her. And it's the DJ who he loved listening to, but know that she had to die because she recorded them killing two yuppies earlier in the film. And, and he goes, "No, it's the DJ, my fave." And he's he's like standing behind his brother, hanging off, his shoulder. And I so wanted to do that, like get on Turtle's, like stand behind Turtle and kind of put my hand over his shoulder, and like, "It's the DJ, it's my fave."
Oh, you should have did that.
I should have, but I just couldn't I could barely get the words, hello out of my mouth.
That is true.
Let alone that. If we got the chance to meet her again, she'd have no clue who we are.
You would do it that time. You wouldn't be as
definitely.
nervous.
I wouldn't be as nervous. I mean, it'd still be a little bit, because, everybody there was so nice. I mean, I've read, people's comments on celebrities they met before. Some say, it's hit or miss with some of them. Some people are just great every time you meet them. Some people are total jerks every time you meet them. So, but I've heard nothing but great things about her. So I think I don't fear like I'd be, not denied.
You wouldn't pass
an
out.
autograph, but I don't feel like she'd, just like make this as quick as she can and get me on my way to get this creepo out of here.
You know what was cool about the celebrities, and I discussed this with Henry on the last podcast, was like every single one that we got an autograph from. For one, like if I got an autograph, you wouldn't have to pay to take a picture with the person or talk to the person or whatever, which was cool. And they would talk to you for a little while. Especially if there was nobody in the line, they'll talk to you for quite a few minutes.
I went back and met Caroline like 2 or 3 times. I actually broke off from you guys at one point towards the end.
It was a great time. And funny little short story. There was a part, they were doing tattoos there.
Yep.
And we were, all three of us, me, Henry, and Robert, discussing getting, we were just walking by. We seen a tattoo thing. I don't know how many times we passed it.
Oh, so many times.
We were like, "Listen, we should get a tattoo." But I was like, "Okay." We were all thinking about it. And then I was like, "Yo, let's go get something to eat," because we were getting hungry. Went downstairs, got something to eat. We were talking about when we got something to eat. Came back upstairs. We did not get horror tattoos, but I feel like the next time that we go, I want to get something.
Oh, definitely. Especially if that, if that place was there. Because there was 2, I didn't even notice the second place.
That was the
second,
that was up front more.
Yeah, up by the Stranger Things display that you and Henry
which was awesome.
did. But, I mean, there was Jack Skellington faces that were like size of a quarter, like $60. Place that we were looking at, like, had these really good sized pieces of Jason and Freddy,
they were $50, right?
Yeah, $50. I mean, the only problem for me, we all agreed
the upside down.
We didn't want to do it. They were all pictured in inverted crosses.
But he said he could take that out.
He could take it out, and even was willing to do like a chop top piece for me for like, he said like $150.
Which
like
still isn't that bad.
No, it's.
But I'm thinking like when we go again, if we go again knowing we want to get tattoos, because the hard thing about that was with this one is like with me, I got the autographs, I bought a bunch of other stuff there, so it's like I love buying stuff from there, but it'll be so cool at least one time, which I want to do. Like if I were to get a horror tattoo, that would be on one of my legs. I'm not sure which one yet, but I want to have like I'll do like a horror type of. It wouldn't be like a theme as far as like one movie, but just like different horror things. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I dig you.
But it'd be cool to get like a tattoo just because
Right.
from there.
Because, I
Like,
mean,
this right here, for those of you, you've all seen Sir Sturdy, the little green statue my brother made. If I can get like a perfect drawing of this, or if I can get my brother like do like a perfect drawing of this, I would consider this because this is
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be like my logo, so to speak,
Mhm.
along with the horror with Sir Sturdy. But this would be like the, you know what I mean? Because this is a one of a kind thing, so nobody else would have it. But that's a maybe. But yeah, like I was saying, it would be real cool to just. I love getting tattoos for one. I
Oh,
love
same
tattoos.
here.
But it would be cool to get like, say we go there. I'm not saying we will, but let's say we go there next October, and we're like, you know what? Let's put, I don't know, $100 aside.
yeah.
This is tattoo money. Everything else that you can bring, whatever, I don't know, we could bring. Let's say $100 a piece, tattoo money. Cool. That way, if you have that room, like you said, the one you wanted was about $1.50, the chop top one,
Yep.
which was not bad because there was so much detail in it.
Right, and you could even like I'm sure Bill, if I went up to Bill and said, "Hey, I'm about to do this here, could you just sign sign my leg or whatever real quick?" And I'm sure he would have done it, and even if
yeah.
won't even charge me because like I say, "Hey, look, I've already got your autograph on my movie here, I paid for that, but and even if he didn't, I mean, still, I sat there and watched him sign my movie. So
That
if
was
they
awesome.
if they could, like photocopy, if they have that, if they do that there, it'd probably be hard going to convention. If you went to an actual studio, you could actually get them like copy it and then make a stencil and put it on there.
He had to have something though because he said he would have did because that tattoo, the one idea you came up with, the chop top one,
Yeah.
on your phone. He said he could do it for you for $1.50. So there's had to be some way where he could look it up, print it out, and do it.
Right.
Unless he was going to freehand it. Which
Yeah, I was
I
going to
don't know.
freehand it, which, I mean, the artist I go to now, free, everything he's done on me, he's just, just draws it on.
But that,
So,
like, the tattoo we were going to get, it was a Friday. Well, me and Rob were going to get. I'm not 100% sure if Henry was going to get Jason Voorhees minus the cross or not. But other than the cross, the thing was cool.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was really cool. But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, if I go there to get a tattoo, maybe I'll go there with an idea. Maybe I'll even go up. Excuse me. Maybe I'll even go there with it already printed out, so to speak, if I have an idea in my mind. And I'm like, just in case, would be like my number one or maybe number two, depending on what they have there, depending on the prices and so on and so forth. But at least I have this already printed so they can do what they got to do to copy it.
right.
But that was a pretty cool tattoo. And this right here, I'm about to show you, Rob. I've showed you guys this if you've watched my live videos before, but I got this from Monster Mania, right? It's a picture. See, it's like half my face,
Yep.
half Jason mask.
Oh, yep.
The guy, and I wish I remembered what the thing was called, like who they were. But they had me, they go there, they take a picture of, like I was standing like this to see the pose. It's like I'm holding a machete over my head.
Yep.
That was really like a soda bottle or a water bottle. But they have me stand in that pose, and whatever horror icon you want, they'll do like half this. See how it's like half the Jason mask and half my face, and they draw it for you,
Nice.
which was pretty cool. I don't remember how much it cost. I want to say maybe 20 or 30, 40 tops, if that.
But even though that is not bad at all, because that's a pretty, detailed piece.
It is, and it's a one of a kind because it's like me. And I just had to show you this because it was right here. But
Yeah, I couldn't really see it, but
check
like when we kind of stood up, I saw something. I was kind of checking out your collection over there. I couldn't get a great look at this one from a distance, but now that I look at it, that's pretty rad. I mean, somebody's got some mad talent could
hell yeah.
piece this together in a pretty decent amount of time.
yeah, he took the picture or whatever, and then they were like, just come back in a couple hours because we were going to be there for maybe an hour, but we came back in a couple hours. I don't really remember, this was 2 years
Plus, he's
ago.
got requests going on, so it probably didn't even take him an hour to do that. It's just like everything I've got lined up, right now, within an hour I'll have one or two done. So
with that, That was actually at the piece I was just discussing, the picture I was just discussing. That was at Monster Mania.
Yep.
Out in New Jersey, and I know me and my wife are gonna go again eventually. It's one of the. I know your wife's not really into horror like that,
No, definitely not.
but if there's a way you can get her to go out there for the weekend, and the only reason why I say for the weekend, even if it's from like Friday to Saturday, preferably I'd say Friday to Sunday, but that's just me.
Right.
And of course you would agree, but you
Oh
love
yeah.
horror.
Oh yeah.
But because the convention, it's so big there, like it's amazing, and like as big as the room was for Scaricon, it was a good size. Don't get me wrong, Scaricon was amazing,
Oh yeah. It's
but
like-
they have rooms that are about that size for just vendors. Maybe half that size, but still just like they have a bunch of rooms where it's just vendors, which is cool because there's so much cool stuff you can buy from these cons.
oh yeah.
That
It's like
you-
even a smaller place like we went to had
Yeah.
a ton of it.
And I don't even mean the figures. Like, the figures are amazing. Don't get me wrong. If you're into collecting figures, which, as you know, I am. But the figures, the movies and stuff, the shirts, like they have a bunch of shirts, just a bunch of stuff where you're only going to see, more than likely, you're only going to see it there. Like, there's some stuff where, like, actually, Henry got one from Scarecon a few years ago. It was made out of, I forgot what it is exactly, but it was, like, made out of bone.
Mhm.
And it was amazing. Like, they make stuff, just random things, you know, like horror related or whatever, and it's cool, and it's huge there, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely worth going to. Like if you're a fan of horror, and I mean, obviously you want to save up the money for it. You want to save up a few $100, maybe
Right.
even $1,000. I'm not even exaggerating because I say that because you figure the travel, food, hotel stay.
Yep.
That right there alone, and then autographs and random horror stuff you want to get, and then coming back home. But we went there. Me and my wife went there one year with the kids. Had a good time. Met Kane Hodder that year. Second time we went, it was me, my wife, and Henry. Another great time. That one, Robert Englund was at.
Oh nice.
Did not get to meet him though, but I'll discuss this real quick. He like they're giving out tickets or whatever to, you know, go up the number whatever, and you go up, you wait in this long ass line. My wife actually waited in the line, and we got all the way upstairs. We were one room away, but there was like rows of seats in front of us.
Mhm.
They were like, listen, it was around, I don't know what time it was at the time, but I want to say like maybe 5 or 6 o'clock at night, more or less, maybe a little later. He wasn't doing any more autographs. But they said, they're like, look, if you guys are staying out here, which we weren't, we couldn't at the time, you'll be first in line. You know, like this group will be first. You're guaranteed to get an autograph tomorrow. And we
Right.
just couldn't do it, which
That
sucked
sucks.
because, what is he, like 80-something years? I don't know how much longer the guy's going to live.
Right. I mean, you got Wes Craven, who
He passed.
Toby Hooper just passed. Like all these people, you just think are as legendary and legend.
Toby Hooper, who was
Texas
he?
Chainsaw and Poltergeist.
Texas Chainsaw. Me and Henry were supposed to meet him
Oh no kidding.
at Scarecon 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. But he had gotten sick. He was sick, so he didn't make it to the thing. And he passed away a couple years ago, right?
No, he just passed away just a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, he was sick then. I don't know if it was like a heart issue or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's been bad on some issues, but I mean, probably can make nothing of it. But I just hope his B of a girlfriend was brought up on charges because he was hospitalized shortly before that for abuse because
Wow.
his girlfriend, who's like 30 years his junior, beating the hell out of him.
I'm just gonna let you know before we go on a little bit more. You can swear on the podcast.
Oh, I know.
You said be of a girlfriend. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, it's like that's just. I mean, I just can't stand anybody who does that to anybody.
Yeah.
A man to a woman to a man. But like you already got to figure somebody who's legendary, probably has a decent income,
Mhm.
and
That's
it's more likely being taken advantage of. But it's still their own damn fault. You're still allowing it.
Yeah.
But sometimes they just don't care. You're an old person. You just want to
The attention.
Even it's the attention. Even though this person's not here with you for real, more than likely true love.
Yeah.
Still, it's you're having your fun, you're getting your last hoorah in your final days. But when you get somebody who's doing that to you, and it's inexcusable, like I said, it probably wasn't related. He probably, like I said, the fact he was sick a couple years ago couldn't make the convention.
Mm-hmm.
He's an older man, or was an older man. He's already having health issues. I mean, that probably certainly didn't help anything. But but at the same time, it's just how when that story broke, it was just not long after the story broke that he passed away.
Oh yeah.
It's like, but the way everything's so technical nowadays, I mean, if there's a case there or not, it's not, it's never going to be, I doubt it'll ever, ever, see the light of day. But it's just unfortunate, that, that's how he spent his final days, being, abused like that.
I got another one for you, and I wish I would asked Henry this. I wish I had actually thought about this question before Chris left. Threw this one before we end it.
Yeah, because the weather sucks out there.
Yeah. Horror matchup. Like, they had Freddy versus Jason.
Yep.
What's your dream matchup? It can be any matchup, and you can even think of like a little quick story. I'll go with mine first, just so you can think. My dream matchup is Freddy. Sorry, no, not Freddy. Nothing against him, but not him. Michael Myers versus Jason Voorhees. I'm going to tell you, I know what you're all thinking. They don't talk. They don't need to talk. How would they meet up? I'm going to tell you how they'll meet up. For some strange reason, Michael always knows where his sister is. Am I right?
Yep.
So let's say she goes to Camp Crystal Lake for whatever, for a little summer vacation. And you all know the story behind Camp Crystal Lake / Camp Blood. But let's say they changed the name of the camp because it stopped, to stop scaring people away from it. So say she goes to the camp, on a Friday the 13th, whatever, or around Halloween, either or, because if you go to that camp, you're going to get killed, put it that way.
Yep.
So say she goes to the camp and, stuff's going on, blah, 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 people are getting killed. And wherever the hell Michael is, say he's in Haddonfield, but somehow he gets the Jersey to that camp because he can drive. I don't know who the hell taught him to drive. That was a terrible idea. That was stupid.
I know. He's been, like I said, multiple films, he's been, it's like since he was, a little boy till he was an adult man. He's been locked up in a mental asylum, breaks out one day, and he can drive a car perfectly.
Someone taught him in that. But anyways, they meet up at Camp Crystal Lake. Say she's there for a couple of nights before stuff happens. It doesn't have to necessarily be Friday the 13th. It doesn't necessarily have to be Halloween. Let's say it's kind of in between.
Right.
But again, like I said, people are getting killed here and there. People end up missing here and there. And she thinks it's her brother after her. So she's getting nervous, whatever. But say, obviously it's not her brother, it's Jason. But her brother's on his way there.
Right.
Now, back and forth, say Michael gets there, Jason's there. They're killing people. And people know the legend of people know the legend of Jason, but they don't know the legend of Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. So say some people, they see Michael, they get killed by him or whatever. They see somebody killing Michael, and they're like, what's going on? I thought he had a hockey mask. And then say his sister, Michael's sister, sees Jason killing people. And she's like, kind of like, what? That's not Michael. Or she says Michael. Say she yells Michael. But he doesn't, Jason's doing his thing. And he looks over because he hears somebody yelling. He just goes after her. And somehow she's running or whatever, obviously. She's running into the woods. And somehow she runs into Michael. And Jason's like right behind her because these fools, they walk, but somehow they're always right there.
Yep.
They're always right there. And Jason, that's his woods. That matchup would be such an amazing fight. And I say this because they're both big, they're big, strong people, or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
They're big, strong figures. Let's say that physically. Now, I'm going to be biased on this because Friday the 13th, Jason's my favorite slasher icon of all time. I say Jason wins. How? I have no idea, but I think he can win. I think he would win. Does he drown Michael? Does he cut his head off? Who knows? But that's like my dream matchup right there. That would be such an awesome matchup. I know people say, "Oh, there won't be a lot of dialogue and talking," but between those two, there really doesn't need to be, and that's why you have the other cast around them. Because in all the other movies you've seen with them, they really didn't. I mean, Jason didn't talk at all. Michael did in the remake as a kid and stuff, but other than that, he didn't say anything. So I'm gonna pass it on to you, if you can think of any.
Just a quick one, just because be just almost a humorous one. It's like Chucky versus Leprechaun.
That
Like, oh my gosh,
hell.
that's just the thought of that is hilarious. Two little killers, but but on a more serious note and still with a little humor to it, how they would pull it off. I never get much deep thought, but I think like Otis from House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects versus the same actor versus Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw.
Oh man,
Somebody actually presented that idea to Bill Moseley one time, and he's like, I don't know who would, just like Otis Lorenzo, like, okay, if there was your two legendary characters face off against each other, who would win? And he's like, I have no idea. I really don't know, but I mean, but why I like that idea is because, I mean, it's two very personality characters and even, very humorous at times, because Bill Moseley has this one of the greatest, voices and, and humor when he uses it to, in, the way he talks and acts in his films. And also, even though there's, talks of another Devil's Rejects movie getting made or another film based on that family getting made, and it never saw the light of day, but there was a Chop Top's own movie was made by Toby Hooper's son, but it just never got put out, mainly due to due to budget.
Okay.
But, and it was super B movie, the preview that you can find, that's all you'll ever see of it. It was super, cheap and cheesy. But
Those
Bill
work
Moseley did, but Bill Moseley was going to star in it, or did star in it, even though it never got to be made, never got to be put out. But even though both of them got, at the both end of both films seemed like they both met their end, still there's talks of another movie get made on one and another movie did get made on the other. So both, can withstand a good hit like most of these horror characters can, but they're both mortal and they both can die. So at the end of the movie, more than likely one or both won't be standing. It's not like a mystery like the way Freddy versus Jason ended. Jason seems to have the upper hand, but Freddy clearly
winks at the end.
Isn't dead. He's just ahead, but
they never. Yeah, but the first matchup you said, because I've never seen the Devil's Rejects, so I'm not familiar with that. But I'm going to speak on the first matchup. That would be, unlike the one that I brought up, there would be a lot of dialogue in that movie. That movie would be hilarious.
It would. It's two little people. First of all, and both of them have pretty, catchy and memorable, lines, and very comical at times. I mean, that's what some people say ruined Child's Play, like when Bride and Seed came out,
because it went from the dark to just, and you could say the same about Leprechaun though. Like, the first one, the original one, I don't remember it 100%, but it was a lot darker than one we discussed in the podcast.
Right. But earlier. But that's exactly the way Nightmare on Elm Street was. First two films were super dark. Third was kind of in between. After that, it was almost like this goofy comedy. But when they brought it back to Freddy versus Jason, it was some pretty serious. It was serious business.
But the Leprechaun versus Chucky would be. I would like to see that. And you've seen the Cult of Chucky, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Whatever the last was that the Cult?
Yep. Seen all of them.
Now you remember when he had all the dolls?
Yep.
That would make that movie, seeing that, having him do that where he possessed all the other dolls against the Leprechaun would be awesome, because Leprechaun's bigger than Chucky.
Right. So that would be a cool thing to maybe introduce, like maybe about 3/4 into the movie, bring that in.
And I say that
you don't see it coming.
The Leprechaun, he has his little magic leprechaun powers and all that stuff. And like just the fight would be
I know, that's like
funny.
That's just like what would make the movie.
The fight, and then just what they're saying to each other.
Right.
Because I feel say Chucky's going after somebody or whatever, or matter of fact, let's say Chucky gets the Leprechaun's gold somehow,
Right.
and he's
For whatever reason he'd want it.
yeah,
He gets it.
Leprechaun goes after Chucky, and obviously there's going to be casualties in the movie. There has to
Yep.
be, but just the fight between them would be so freaking funny, and I don't know who's in control of that, but make it happen.
Yeah, right?
Make it
exactly.
I say
Yeah,
that
you've heard it here first.
yes, make that happen. The Michael versus Jason would be awesome, amazing as a fan, my fan standpoint. And I'm sure Rob would love to see it too. But the Chucky versus Leprechaun, people would like that just because it would be hilarious.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't go in to take that movie serious. You'd
Not
go
at all.
in for some blood and guts, but also at the same time a lot of laughs and a lot of humor,
Exactly.
a lot of goofiness. So
And I say don't even make it like a straight to Netflix or straight to DVD type of movie.
oh
You don't
yeah,
gotta do
I
anything
think it'll be
special.
a big release. More like it wouldn't be anyways, but
I would even love to see a fan made film of that, if possible. I know it'd be kind of tough. Plus, you
Yeah.
need Brad to do the voice.
right. And
But,
you got to get and you'd got to get Warwick Davis to do Leprechaun. So-
Or jumping back to the Jason versus Michael, that could also work as a fan made film, possibly.
Oh yeah,
That would be a fun one
because you don't got to do voices. You just got to find two big guys, don the outfit and the mask.
and fight.
Yep.
Pretty much. I mean, you have the story. You don't necessarily need Jamie Lee Curtis to play his sister. You could have somebody else
No,
play it.
how many films have you had without her?
'Cause
It
like I
works
said-
just fine.
With the Never Sleep Alone movie, I'm just jumping to this real quick. Go see it for one. Watch it on YouTube. But whoever did that, I think they'd be able to pull this movie off. You could have somebody that maybe kind of looks like Jamie Lee Curtis, just so it kind of portrays his sister, so people understand. They know,
Right.
like, oh, that's her. But I'm gonna wrap this up. The weather's kind of getting bad out there. Rob has to take off. I know for a fact he will be back.
For sure.
Definitely. So I'm going to tie this up. And I had a great time with this podcast. I'm glad both of these gentlemen came and helped me out with this. I'm sure they'll be on more. I know Henry will be on more. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you in your nightmares.